Within the 4 games over here, we gave up, 48 points. Last year, we gave up 68 points. That's an improvement, obviously, but 13.9 per game that we're giving up, but that's including the, I think a punt return or something like that for a touch, which most of our defensive guys are on anyways. So, points per play, points per possession, yards per carry is all better. Rushing, we're giving up 62 instead of something like 130 a game, which is good, I think. 210 in passing and 180 from last year. So there's a little bit of a difference there, 30 yards, which is obviously has to do with, the passing game and how we're giving up, probably too many explosive plays. At this time, we gave up 3 more explosive plays, and them 3 explosive plays were plus 60. For different reasons, whatever. It's a team game, and whether somebody didn't jam somebody or somebody wasn't playing half coverage when they're supposed to, there's multiple things that go on that we have to get corrected for that. I think our third downs have been better. We're 70%. That's probably one of the higher ones that we had in a while. Red zone, we only had 3 trips in there compared to 11 last year. So the 3 trips in there, we gave up touchdowns, and 2 out of the 3 were on third downs. Should have been, critical downs that we can get. And sometimes you look and say, how can you be 70% on third downs overall? Takeaways were plus 4, which is an improvement. We worked on that. We took some stuff from Virginia Tech and ideas of, how getting the ball out and try to get, the ball back to our offense in good field position. So I think that's been really good. Just to go back to explain to you guys a little bit about explosive plays to us. I think explosive play for me is 25 yards or more, and that's whether it's a run or pass. Now, there's also some big plays, and when I talk about big plays, big run to me is 15 yards. A big pass is 20 yards. Okay, that's kind of where I picture this in my mind. So I want to eliminate that. I think if you're just playing defense, there's no way that somebody should run a 15-yard run on you with the structure that we have and trying to leverage the ball. And I think that's important, and we're going to be working on that. And I think tackling has to improve to not to do that. And I think with the tackling, if we can clear that up, which we're working on all the time every day, of making sure that, nose in front of your toes, as I say it, having good balance and be able to change direction, sink your hips, and be able to be in a good football position to make a tackle. So I think that's something that we've been working on and have to, and it doesn't have nothing to do with the effort that the kids are getting to. I mean, the kids are working hard, they're getting there, they're tough, and just got to make sure they finish up some tackles and wrap up and hold on to some guys. But if you look at where we're at, we got a lot of things, and we got a lot of good kids on our team, and it's a great time to get them a rest. But there's also some guys that are playing pretty good that, that are moving in that need to get some more reps, and they earned the right to take some reps. So it's been a good for us to know that we have somebody in there that you can put in there and give somebody a rest, and I think that's been a good thing for us. We hit some bumps in the road early, obviously to our rivals, but you get bumps in life too. It's how you respond to them bumps when you're going through it, and everybody has them. And there's a lot of bumps. You talked about the bumps here. There's a lot of bumps out there in the real world that we have no idea what they're going through, some other people. So sometimes you just got to appreciate what you have here. We got a chance to play a game of football that, we have a bunch of great guys, great leadership within the program, from the head coach all the way down to the players, So I'll open it up for any questions. No, I think with personnel, I think they're all pretty well equal. I think, obviously, I think Jamar Harris is really playing well. Okay, and he's really made some impact, interceptions, knockaway, pass breakups, and stuff like that. But between T.J. Hall and Deshaun Lee, I think they're very competitive. And sometimes it's for a feel of the game how we go about it. Sometimes it's doing practice, how they're doing it, how I see they're working. And the same thing with John Nestor. He really hasn't had a chance. He was really good doing the first part of the season, and he's getting a chance to where, should he be in the game a little bit and give these guys a break? This is really one of the first times, we don't have maybe a guy like Cooper where he's just a little bit more, he's probably the main guy, right? But this is a little bit more difficult as far as saying, hey, these guys are competing, they're doing well, they're all practicing hard, and these guys deserve to play too. And the timing of when you put them in the game, how you put them in the game, it's a little bit tough, and try to manage that as you're calling plays and situations in the game, and you just got to make sure you try to keep that going, and I think they're both pretty competing, and that's all you can do is you can compete, and we'll put a guy in. If somebody gets hurt, somebody else has to go in, and I don't want to be in a position where, hey, you don't play a kid and say, at least he's had time to play. Deshaun, he started a couple games last year, right? And he wasn't the starter going in, and all of a sudden he's the starter. So I think guys have to deal with it, and I think everybody has to deal with that, hey, we're going to put the best guys in to help us win the game.
Blake Hornstein, Hawkeye headquarters. Good to see you, Phil. I wanted to ask you about the strong safety position. We saw Xavier leave the game against Iowa State. We've seen a little bit of Cohen Entringer. I was curious, do you see a gap between those two players, and what is it you like to see from Xavier moving forward?
Well, it's kind of interesting that I think they're both very competitive. They're about the same size, and they move pretty well. And I think there's some times that, when a kid goes in there and there's a lot of things that go on in a game that happens that nobody else sees. Somebody gives up a play and everybody thinks, obviously in the back end, everybody says, hey, I seen who was it. My mom was blind, she could see it, right? But what's the other details in it, and where they're jamming people and somebody delivering a guy to you, was it his footwork, whatever it is, has really nothing to do with, when they're putting it in. I think they both deserve to be out there. They've both been playing pretty well and competitive. Matter of fact, I thought, Xavier had one of his better practices. And today he had a really good practice. So it's very competitive back there, and there's going to be this is a long season. We're going to need everybody in it, and the good thing about it is I think they're happy for each other. Hey, when they go out there and do make plays, they're happy that the guys make the plays, and it's a team game. You're not winning by some individual, and I think Xavier, he's been doing a good job in Cohen. They're competing. I think Cohen has some other places that he can play different positions too. So there's based on situation in the game.
Scott Doctrine with The Athletic. I know the numbers are the numbers, the stats are the stats, but there are differences, I think, in some of these bigger pass plays or explosive pass plays. It looked like last week it was Washington down the left sideline on Lee, perfectly thrown ball, barely caught it in bounds.
Did he catch it?
He
Okay.
well,
I got it. I don't know. I'm just listening to you.
officially. Okay.
Got it.
And then you look at other plays like whether it's half coverage and the safety's not over far enough versus the safety not getting back to get on the deepest player.
Right.
How do you judge those two where
One is competitive, competed with, and it was right there. It was a bang bang, and he was fighting for the ball. Did he get it out? Almost had it out. How can that happens? I don't know if you guys watch any of the NFL stuff over there, or if you played any kind of football. If anybody in here or anybody in the country that's played football and hasn't gotten beat, they haven't played long enough. Do you know what I mean? They haven't played. Anybody in the NFL. I saw those guys on Sunday night, just watching these guys over there, guy after guy after guy, and these guys are pros, you know what I mean? So if you, when somebody says, well, I never been beat, okay, well, you haven't played long enough. Everybody gets beaten, everything in their life. You go back all the way back when they played, little CYO football all the way up to their high school years, and then when they go to college, and obviously, if they go to the NFL, they're going to beat if you're a corner. It's how do you respond to that afterwards. That's the important part of it, in my opinion. But yeah, go back to the half coverage over there. What coverage were we really playing it? Should the corner sink a little bit more? Was the safety deep enough on his initial thing? Hey, could he protected it? Ball was thrown 2 yards on the inside of that hash. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a lot of different things. It just wasn't one guy. That's why sometimes the perception out there is like, oh, You know, he gave up. It's a team game. You know, hey, how come we didn't get there fast enough up front or whatever it is? But I think there's some things that go into all that stuff, and our job is to eliminate that. And we've been doing a better job, you know, in the last week and a half of really trying to focus on your alignment. Make sure that your alignment is always based on your ability to make a play that you have to be at. And sometimes, you know, we got to make sure, and it's detailed every time you sit there, and everything's about details. Are you deep enough on the snap of the ball? Do you have it? Are you reading the quarterback? If you're a half player, you got to read the quarterback. What way is he going? If he's looking over this way, well, then you might be cheating, but I need you to be square cheating it. You know, if he's looking over the other way, you need to be square. Don't break. I didn't say open it up or anything like that. So there's multiple things that go within a play that the guys have to do besides saying, hey, I have this guy or I have this guy. And the ball moves, you know, the ball's in the middle of the field, the ball's on the half, and there's so many different, I have dividers of where the guys have to be if they're on half coverage, or, you know, if they're supposed to be a 3-by-3 on a guy, or what it is. I think everything has to be detailed, and that's why you have practice and you keep on doing it. Now, you look at it, we have a lot of guys coming back and the experience, but this is a different year. And we have growth, right? We're growth, and every season's the same way. You're getting better and better and better each and every day, and that's why we practice, you know. So I'm very pleased the way the guys have been responding, and you know, whether we were playing not so good last week in the Minnesota game to where, you know, I don't know, 22 plays or whatever for 62 yards, whatever some outrageous stats were, right? But we were playing better and solid, you know what I mean? And it was just a different mindset, and I don't know, it had nothing to do with play calling.
John?
I feel John Sept, Cedar Rapids Gazette. You're mentioning the exceptionally good rushing defense numbers before. What do you kind of see as the biggest, or kind of some of the bigger factors that are attributing to your success in that facet of the game?
Well, I think obviously our front line has really been good, and they've got two good backers. So I mean, it's hard to run the ball against us, I think. And if you go back and look at some of the teams, I don't know, last week, just for example, I don't know how many times they ran the ball, but they didn't run the ball as much as they usually try to run the ball against us. So I think some people understand that, hey, we want to stop the run, and sometimes we don't always. We want to stop the run with the four guys up front and the two linebackers, and we'll sneak a guy down once in a while and try not to give up a big play, because there's a big shot play that they try to take, a fake a run, and try to throw over top. And I seen Deshaun Lee he overlapped on the guy on the other side of the field. So, you know, eliminate them big plays. That's the one thing is we want the secondary to help, but we don't want to give up those big plays and let them work it down the field and see how it does. So I think it has to do a lot with our defensive line, how we rotate our defensive line, keep them fresh in the way they play, and it's hard to run the ball against us.
Three more for Coach. Tom?
Tom Kaker, Hawkeye Report. Phil, wanted to ask you about your pass rush. You feel like you're getting enough out of that? And on that third down package where you bring in Brian Allen and Craig in the middle, and your thought process there?
Well, I think, you know, everybody wants sacks, but if you start going to look at it and going back to, you know, on Sunday to watch them two quarterbacks play and how fast they get the ball out, you know, these guys in college are getting the ball out quick. It's going to be hard to get to them as fast as you can. You got to cover them up, and depending if you're playing zone defense or you're playing man, and then we got to decide, you know, on the quarterback, is it easier for him to throw it versus man coverage? Is it easier for him to throw it versus zone? Sometimes I think when we start playing more zone, all of a sudden the quarterback struggles a little bit. Sometimes you play, I think you got to have a mixture of it. But I do think our pass rush, you know, they might not always get there, but the hits, you know, or the hands up, or they're getting pressure on them. They might not get in sacks, but they're still forcing the ball to be thrown, maybe not on, you know, a little bit off schedule. And I think that's the benefit of, yeah, we don't have a lot of sacks, but you know, we're giving up 14 points a game, or really 12 points a game on defense, and you sit there and say, yeah, we're not good. Maybe to our standards, we're not that good. We're not big on stats of saying tackle for losses and sacks or what it is, or, you know, we're trying to play as a team and not individual, you know. I really don't care who gets the interceptions. I don't really care who gets the sacks, as long as we get the guy down.
Adam Jacoby, Hawkeye Beacon. Phil, thanks for your time today. Sebastian Castro sort of came into the season as a fringe All-American candidate, and so far through the season, no no tackles for loss, only 1 pass breakup. He had 8 last year. How do you feel about his level of play so far? Like, are you concerned about the lack of production? And if you are, what do you need to do to get some of that more disruptive production out and back?
Well, I think he had a couple, pass breakup last week. I think he's had more than this one or two. I think his impact for us is his effort and how he gets to the ball. You see the way he runs to the ball. It kind of generates some other guys to say, hey, if this guy does every time we get, and it's like Hurkett, he does the same thing. But I don't think, probably I won't go there. There's sometimes guys can have a great year, right? I'll give you this example. Sophomore year played out, all Big Ten player, right? Next year, he might have been an all Big Ten player next year, but probably didn't have the stats that he had. And then the next year he does it, and he probably played better than he ever has, and still didn't have the same time. So sometimes it's overperceptions of like, hey, how impact. Sometimes if you're the offensive guys, you're going to sit there and say, you better find out where 29 is. You know what I mean? And we don't want to throw the ball to him or his side of the ball, or you better watch out if he's coming. So I think there's some factors there. It's hard to repeat and say, hey, he made a lot of plays last year. It doesn't guarantee you're going to make a lot of plays this year. But every day, if you're playing within your system, how you grading out every day based on, that play. This play here, did you grade out? Did you do your job on this play? And that's what everybody has to do. It's not always going to happen that somebody's going to make a lot of plays. And it's all depends. Sometimes guy says, hey, he had 10 tackles. Well, and your corner or something like, what does that mean to you guys if you had 10 tackles? Well, it means they're going at you, right? So, you got to be careful there, saying, hey, God, you got so many tackles, you got this or that. And, it's a very interesting game. And, I guess that's why we love being around it. And that's why I guess you guys love to, cover it and see where it goes. But, we're happy where we're at, as far as the team. We're getting the guys rest, and we're looking forward to this, finishing up here and starting on the next opponent here at the end of the week.
Last question, Chad.
Chad Lice, Coach, Wayne Register. Wanted to follow up on Entringer. It seems like, would it be fair to say he got better faster than you expected? And then, is it just a case of he's too good to keep off the field? And how do you envision kind of that?
Well, I think he hit.
Safety going forward, or do you want one guy to win that job?
Well, hey, if a kid earns the right to play, he should play. You got to put him in. And it's the routine of me trying to make sure that everybody's getting a fair shake at it. But I think he has multiple positions. Obviously, the time that he got back was, the beginning of camp. You know what I mean? That he was starting to come out. So it took him a little bit longer than to get where he's at now. But I think he can play some multiple positions. I think he can go down and play, the cash. I think he can play, the strong safety. Just like Xavier, I think he can, he's the backup free. Do you know what I mean? So, when you start mixing around, a guy goes down. Okay, Quinn Schulte goes down. Well, hey, X, you got to go over here. Hey, Cohen, you got to go here. You better be ready to have the pieces of the puzzles to put together so we can keep functioning and the engine doesn't break down.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.